In a world full of noise, chaos, and shifting power, there comes a moment when silence speaks louder than words, and actions echo across the globe. This isn't just a story about politics or strategy. It's a divine reminder that when a nation walks with faith, wisdom, and purpose, even the strongest are humbled. India's rise is not just about might, it's about soul. It's about standing firm when others bend, choosing light when others chase shadows. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to witness is more than history. It's destiny unfolding, one bold move at a time. India's rise on the global stage has not been accidental. It is the result of deliberate and carefully calculated decisions rooted in the principle of strategic autonomy. Unlike many nations that align themselves closely with major global powers for economic or military protection, India has consistently chosen to walk its own path. This doesn't mean isolation. It means independence. It means India listens to everyone but bows to no one. Whether it's the United States, Russia, or China, India has maintained relationships based on national interest, not pressure. This autonomy was especially visible during global conflicts and geopolitical shifts. While countries were pressured to take sides, India prioritized its own energy needs, security concerns, and development goals. In the Russia-Ukraine war, for instance, India refused to be drawn into the ideological battle lines. Instead, it kept diplomatic channels open with all parties, ensuring uninterrupted oil supplies and protecting its economic stability. That move wasn't just smart, it was sovereign. India's defense policy also reflects this autonomy. Instead of relying completely on foreign arms, it is investing heavily in indigenous military production. This not only boosts self-reliance, but reduces external dependency, a critical factor in maintaining autonomy during crises. On the diplomatic front, India has engaged in multilateral groups like BRICS, SCO, and Quad, balancing relationships without compromising principles. Strategic autonomy doesn't mean standing alone, it means standing firm. It allows India to make decisions free from coercion, anchored in national interest. It's about refusing to be anyone's pawn in a global chess game. And in today's volatile world, that kind of independence isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. India's ability to uphold this principle while growing economically and politically has stunned observers across continents, forcing the world to see the emergence of a truly sovereign global power. India's entry into the semiconductor sector took the world by surprise, not because the country lacked capability, but because it chose to challenge a deeply entrenched global supply chain dominated by a handful of nations. For years, countries like the United States, Taiwan, South Korea, and China controlled the chip manufacturing industry, making developing nations heavily dependent on them. But India made a bold move. Instead of continuing as just a consumer in the global tech hierarchy, it positioned itself to become a key manufacturer and innovator. The announcement of massive investments in semiconductor fabrication plants signaled a turning point. India invited global chip makers with open arms, offering subsidies, tax benefits, and land to companies willing to help build a semiconductor ecosystem on Indian soil. Giants like Micron Technology and Tata Group joined the movement, seeing not just opportunity but vision. India's push wasn't limited to infrastructure. It included policy reforms, talent development, and academic industry collaborations designed to create long-term technological self-reliance. This move didn't just address economic needs, it struck at the heart of technological sovereignty. In a world where chips power everything from mobile phones to missiles, control over chip production is equivalent to holding strategic power. India recognized this truth and acted decisively. The world, especially countries that once overlooked India as a manufacturing hub, was forced to reconsider. The decision also played into broader themes of global diversification. As nations sought to reduce dependence on China, India emerged as a viable and stable alternative. With a growing domestic market, skilled engineers, and proactive policy support, the semiconductor surprise wasn't a random gamble. It was a calculated step toward transforming India from a technology user into a technology creator. The shock was real, not because India tried, but because India succeeded where others doubted its ambition. India's decision to promote international trade using its own currency, the Indian rupee, marked a bold departure from traditional norms dominated by the U.S. dollar. For decades, global trade has been heavily reliant on the dollar, making many countries vulnerable to external shocks, currency fluctuations, and political pressures tied to American financial systems. India recognized this imbalance and began strategically pushing for bilateral trade agreements that allow settlements in rupees, especially with countries in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. This move wasn't just economic, it was symbolic. It sent a clear message that India was ready to redefine its financial identity on the global stage. By offering rupee-based trade options, India provided an alternative to countries struggling with dollar shortages or those facing U.S. sanctions. Nations like Russia, Sri Lanka, and the UAE showed interest or engaged in rupee-based trade, seeing it as a stable and pragmatic option amidst global financial instability. The benefits for India were multifold. Firstly, it reduced dependency on the dollar, insulating the Indian economy from sudden dollar outflows and enhancing monetary sovereignty. Secondly, it boosted demand for the rupee internationally, strengthening its position as a potential global currency in emerging markets. Thirdly, it encouraged exports by removing currency conversion barriers, making trade smoother and more cost-effective. India also established mechanisms like the special Vostro accounts through the Reserve Bank of India to facilitate this transition. Banks were permitted to open accounts for foreign trade partners where rupee payments could be held and used for bilateral transactions. This financial innovation demonstrated India's seriousness in rewriting outdated trade models. What began as a monetary experiment evolved into a geopolitical signal. India was no longer content playing by someone else's rules. It was now writing new ones, one rupee at a time, reshaping global trade logic in a way that stunned traditional economic powers. India's transformation from a major arms importer to an emerging defense innovator has shocked many global observers who long underestimated its potential in military technology. For decades, India relied heavily on foreign nations for advanced weaponry, creating strategic vulnerability. But over the past few years, a quiet revolution has taken place. India has begun building, testing, and even exporting sophisticated defense systems that rival those of established powers. The indigenous development of the Tejas fighter jet is a shining example. Once considered a long-delayed project, Tejas has now proven its worth with modern avionics, agility, and versatility. It has not only strengthened India's Air Force, but has attracted attention from countries looking for affordable and reliable aircraft. Similarly, the BrahMos missile, developed jointly with Russia, has set new standards in speed and precision, making it one of the fastest supersonic cruise missiles in the world. Countries such as the Philippines have already signed contracts to procure it, signaling global trust in Indian defense technology. India's innovations aren't limited to missiles and jets. The country has made significant progress in developing indigenous drones, artillery systems, electronic warfare platforms, and naval assets. The focus has shifted from procurement to production, with the slogan "Make in India, Make for the World," driving exports to friendly nations. Defense corridors have been established, startups have been funded, and public-private partnerships are flourishing, all contributing to a dynamic and self-sustaining military ecosystem. This defense turnaround isn't just about national pride, it's about strategic resilience. By reducing dependence on foreign suppliers, India ensures its armed forces are never held hostage by geopolitical shifts. Global powers that once viewed India as merely a buyer of arms are now engaging with it as a partner in innovation. It's a new era where India no longer waits for security, it builds it. India's creation of a robust digital public infrastructure has stunned the world, especially because it emerged from a developing country that was once heavily reliant on cash transactions. At the heart of this transformation lies the Unified Payments Interface (UPI), a real-time payment system that has revolutionized the way financial transactions are conducted in India. What makes this achievement remarkable is not just its scale, but its accessibility. UPI has empowered millions, from street vendors to tech entrepreneurs, by allowing instant, secure, and zero-cost money transfers directly from mobile phones. Unlike the private digital payment systems seen in Western countries, India's UPI is a government-backed open protocol designed to be inclusive and interoperable. It seamlessly connects banks, digital wallets, and fintech apps, making financial services available even in the most remote corners of the country. This model of public digital infrastructure doesn't just serve the elite. It serves the last person in the line, ensuring that no one is left behind in the digital revolution. But UPI is only one part of a broader digital ecosystem. India has also built Aadhaar, a biometric identification system that links individuals to public services and financial systems, and DigiLocker, which allows citizens to store important documents digitally. Together, these platforms have created a new model of governance and service delivery, reducing corruption, increasing efficiency, and boosting economic participation. Countries across the globe, from Asia to Africa, are now studying and replicating India's digital infrastructure. Even the World Bank and IMF have praised it as a model for financial inclusion. In a world where many powerful nations still struggle with fragmented systems, India's cohesive and scalable digital infrastructure has flipped the script. It has proven that a developing nation can lead the way in building a future-ready, inclusive, and transparent digital economy. India's assertive leadership in the global south has reshaped the international balance of influence, surprising long-standing powers and giving voice to nations historically sidelined. The global south, comprising Africa, Latin America, parts of Asia, and the developing world, has often found itself excluded from major global decision-making bodies. India recognized this imbalance and stepped forward, not as a self-declared leader, but as a representative of shared struggles and aspirations. Through forums like the G20, BRICS, and the Voice of Global South Summit, India has consistently advocated for the interests of developing nations, focusing on equitable access to vaccines, climate justice, technology transfer, and financial reforms. It has demanded that international institutions like the United Nations, IMF, and World Bank become more inclusive, reflective of modern geopolitical realities instead of outdated post-WTO structures. India's leadership stands out because it is rooted in empathy and experience. Unlike many Western powers, India has faced colonialism, poverty, and underdevelopment. Its journey from those hardships to becoming one of the fastest-growing economies gives it a credible platform to speak on behalf of others navigating similar challenges. Prime Minister Modi's emphasis on one Earth, one family, one future during India's G20 presidency was not just rhetoric. It reflected a deeply philosophical and practical approach to global unity. By offering development assistance, disaster relief, digital public infrastructure, and capacity building to African, Asian, and island nations, India has positioned itself as a partner, not a patron. This partnership model resonates across continents because it's built on mutual respect rather than dominance. Countries in the global south now look to India as a bridge between the developing world and established powers. India's rise as a voice for the voiceless has changed how the world listens. No longer on the sidelines, India is setting the agenda for a fairer and more balanced world order. India's Chandrayaan-3 mission marked a defining moment in the history of global space exploration, capturing the attention of the world not just for its success, but for the sheer audacity and humility behind it. When the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, successfully landed its Vikram lander near the Moon's south pole in August 2023, India became the first country ever to reach that region, and only the fourth to achieve a soft landing on the lunar surface. What stunned the world was not only the scientific achievement itself, but the cost efficiency and precision with which India executed it. While major space agencies spend billions on similar missions, Chandrayaan-3 was launched with a modest budget, proving that innovation does not require extravagance. ISRO accomplished what many believed only elite space powers could, and it did so with grace, humility, and technical brilliance. This shattered the notion that space exploration was the exclusive domain of super-rich nations. The landing location itself held critical scientific importance. The moon's south pole is believed to contain water ice and other valuable resources, and ISRO's successful landing opened new doors for research and potential lunar habitation. The mission demonstrated India's growing ability not only to participate in space exploration, but to lead in uncharted territories. The global reaction was one of awe. Space agencies, scientists, and even rival countries acknowledged India's engineering prowess and mission planning. More importantly, it inspired millions of young Indians and aspiring scientists across the global south to dream bigger. Chandrayaan-3 wasn't just about reaching the moon. It was about raising India's stature in the scientific world, and more importantly, redefining what's possible for emerging economies. Through this single act of determination and excellence, India didn't just join the space race. It changed its direction. India's handling of international conflicts, particularly its stance during the Russia-Ukraine war, revealed a new level of diplomatic maturity and strategic brilliance that caught many global powers off guard. While most Western nations aligned themselves strictly along ideological lines, India chose a more calculated, balanced, and interest-driven approach, rather than being swept into the pressure to condemn or side with any one bloc. India focused on protecting its national interests, especially energy security, defense cooperation, and food stability, while still advocating for peace and dialogue. This policy of strategic neutrality allowed India to maintain strong relations with both the West and Russia. On one hand, India continued its historical defense and energy partnership with Russia, securing discounted oil deals to ease inflation and stabilize its economy. On the other, it deepened its economic and technological ties with the United States and the European Union, making it clear that its foreign policy was not dictated by external pressure, but guided by internal priorities. India also made its voice heard at global forums. While refraining from voting against Russia at the United Nations, it consistently called for a peaceful resolution and an end to violence. This balanced approach earned India respect from conflicting parties and allowed it to act as a potential mediator when communication lines between major powers were broken. Furthermore, India's commitment to non-intervention and strategic dialogue reinforced its image as a responsible global player, not just a regional actor. Countries around the world, especially those in the global south, took note of how India navigated a volatile geopolitical landscape without compromising sovereignty or stability. By refusing to blindly follow dominant narratives and instead crafting a smart, interest-based foreign policy, India showed the world that diplomacy doesn't have to be loud to be effective. It just needs to be wise. India's massive youth population is not just a demographic statistic. It's a driving force behind one of the world's most energetic and innovative economies. With over 65% of its population under the age of 35, India holds one of the youngest workforces on the planet. This youth energy, when combined with access to digital infrastructure, education, and entrepreneurial opportunities, has sparked a startup revolution that has left the world watching in awe. In just a few years, India has emerged as the third largest startup ecosystem globally, trailing only the United States and China. From fintech to edtech, from health tech to agri-tech, young Indian entrepreneurs are solving real world problems with scalable, tech-driven solutions. Unicorns, startups valued at over $1 billion, are being born at an unprecedented pace. But even beyond these headline-grabbing successes, thousands of smaller ventures are transforming rural communities, streamlining urban services, and creating jobs across sectors. Government initiatives like Startup India, Digital India, and Skill India have played a pivotal role in empowering this youthful surge. Coupled with access to venture capital, supportive policies, and a culture increasingly embracing risk and innovation, young Indians are reshaping the country's economic landscape. They are not waiting for change. They are building it. What's remarkable is that this boom is not confined to the metros. Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are becoming hotbeds of innovation, breaking the myth that entrepreneurship is only for the elite or urban. Young minds from humble backgrounds are disrupting markets with ideas that are local in relevance and global in potential. India's youth are not just the future, they are the present. Their ambition, creativity, and resilience are creating an economy that is agile, inclusive, and globally competitive, making India not only a land of opportunity, but a symbol of possibility. India's cultural influence has grown into a powerful form of soft power that is reshaping how the world perceives the nation. In an age where military strength and economic numbers often dominate headlines, India's rise is also being powered by something far more timeless, its culture. From yoga and spirituality to cinema, cuisine, and classical art, India's rich heritage is now touching lives across every continent. Yoga, once seen as an ancient Indian practice, has now become a global wellness phenomenon. With the United Nations declaring June 21 as International Yoga Day, millions around the world now participate in a tradition rooted in Indian philosophy, promoting both physical and mental well-being. This has not only elevated India's global image, but has also strengthened its spiritual leadership worldwide. Bollywood, too, plays a critical role in this cultural expansion. Indian films are no longer limited to domestic audiences. They are being screened and celebrated in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and even Latin America. Music, fashion, and Indian storytelling have crossed borders, inspiring cross-cultural collaboration and admiration. These films carry not just entertainment, but messages of family, values, love, and resilience, ideas that resonate universally. Indian cuisine has also become a global ambassador, from curry houses in London to street food stalls in New York and fusion restaurants in Tokyo. Indian flavors have won hearts and palates across the globe. Similarly, Indian festivals like Diwali and Holi are now celebrated internationally, symbolizing light, unity, and joy. Language, literature, and even traditional systems like Ayurveda have also found global interest, building bridges of curiosity and respect. This cultural rise isn't loud or forceful, it's graceful and magnetic. It draws people in not through power, but through connection, showing the world that India's greatest strength may lie not in conquering others, but in helping them feel at home with its heart. India's journey is no longer a quiet rise. It's a thunder that's shaking old assumptions and rewriting the rules of global power. From mastering technology to leading with diplomacy, from building its own defense systems to inspiring the world through culture, India has proven it doesn't need permission to lead. It leads with purpose, pride, and a vision rooted in truth. The world didn't expect it, but now it can't ignore it. Thank you for watching. Stay inspired, stay focused, and never stop believing in your own rise. Good luck on your journey. And remember, the world changes when you decide to move.